It's been called the most dangerous volcano in the world, a ticking time bomb, and even broken. But is Yellowstone really broken? And should we be worried that it might blow? Let's talk about it. This is Yellowstone Supervolcano. Yellowstone National Park spans parts of 3 states, but its most famous feature isn't in any of them. The geyser basins and wildlife of Wyoming's Yellowstone are incredible, sure. But at the very center of the park, there's something much more powerful. Beneath the surface of the park, stretching from just north of the town of West Yellowstone, Montana, to just south of the town of Idaho Falls, Idaho, is one of the largest supervolcanoes on Earth. It has the potential to destroy everything in its path and cause a global catastrophe if it erupts. So, of course, people are worried about it blowing up. Yellowstone's magma chamber is actually pretty hard to pin down. Like many volcanoes, it started out as a series of small vents that over millions of years merged together to form one giant caldera. In this case, that caldera is roughly 43 by 28 miles across, or about the size of Los Angeles County. That makes it one of the 20 largest known calderas on Earth, and that's just the size of the caldera itself. When you look at the total area covered by Yellowstone's magma chamber, it's larger than Rhode Island and Connecticut combined. So what makes Yellowstone a supervolcano? Well, the word super in supervolcano doesn't refer to how cool it is. It refers to how violently explosive an eruption can be. A typical volcanic eruption is what we call effusive, meaning lava flows out of the top of a volcano in a relatively calm fashion. Even stratovolcanoes, which are made of layers of ash and lava and tend to be pretty steep-sided, don't always erupt explosively. But when a magma chamber is big enough to cause mass extinctions, that's a sign of a true supervolcano. There have only been 3 known eruptions in Earth's history that would qualify. One happened in Indonesia around 74,000 years ago at Mount Toba. The other 2 happened at Yellowstone. Over the past 640,000 years, Yellowstone has had 2 massive eruptions, one around 2.1 million years ago and another around 13,000 years ago. These are known as the Huckleberry Ridge and Mesa Falls eruptions, respectively. The eruption that happened around 2 million years ago blew out over 2,000 cubic miles of material, nearly 10 times the volume of Mount St. Helens in 1980. The eruption that happened around 13,000 years ago was even larger, ejecting over 3,000 cubic miles of material. For reference, that's about 600 times the volume of the Mount Pinatubo eruption in 1991, which is considered one of the largest eruptions of the last century. And if that doesn't seem like a lot, consider that every single cubic mile of material ejected during the eruption of Mount Pinatubo is still there. Most of it. The material that comes out of supervolcanoes is so heavy that gravity pulls it right back down into the caldera. Only a tiny percentage of the material makes it into the atmosphere. But since thousands of cubic miles are blasted out of the volcano, that still adds up to a huge cloud of ash and gas that can travel thousands of miles. In fact, studies of ice cores have shown that both of Yellowstone's recent super eruptions caused major climate shifts around the world, even though they happened thousands of years before humans were around to cause our own climate shift. Not all supervolcanoes have such dramatic effects. Much of it depends on where the volcano is located. Yellowstone's position in the middle of a continent means that whatever it throws into the air will affect a large area. On the other hand, a supervolcano near a coastline might not have as far-reaching effects because the ocean will dampen the effects of the eruption. But no matter where a supervolcano is located, the immediate area will be affected by pyroclastic flows, lahars, and tephra. Pyroclastic flows are the hot, fast-moving clouds of gas and solid material that flow down the side of a volcano during an eruption. Lahars are volcanic mud flows that can happen before, during, or after an eruption. They occur when water mixes with loose volcanic material on the side of a volcano, turning it into a thick slurry that flows downhill. Tephra refers to the bits of rock and other material that get blasted into the air during an eruption. These materials can solidify into a kind of volcanic glass called tektite. But if they stay small enough, They can also cause serious damage to anything in their path. Ash and fine-grained tephra are especially good at ruining crops and causing respiratory problems. If Yellowstone were to erupt today, the damage would be catastrophic. Pyroclastic flows would engulf everything within 50 miles of the caldera. At minimum, that includes West Yellowstone, Montana, which has a population of around 10,000. Lahars would follow the rivers out of the caldera, destroying everything in their path. People living within 100 miles of the volcano would have to flee. Within 24 hours, ash would begin falling over much of the northern United States and southern Canada. Major cities like Salt Lake City and Boise would be buried under several inches of ash. Denver and Billings would receive over a foot of ash, and parts of Wyoming and Idaho would get over 2 feet. But before anyone starts packing their bags for South Dakota, it's important to remember that there are different levels of volcanic eruptions. The amount of material ejected during Yellowstone's super eruptions was extreme, but the frequency of these events is not. On average, the super eruptions happen once every 600,000 years. But that doesn't mean we're due for an eruption anytime soon. Volcanic eruptions aren't like clockwork. If we knew exactly when they would happen, we wouldn't need to monitor volcanoes at all. Instead, monitoring helps us to better understand what might happen and when we should be concerned. Yellowstone is constantly monitored by the United States Geological Survey. Seismometers placed throughout the park keep track of earthquakes. Satellite images keep an eye on changes in the caldera's shape. GPS monitors track any movement in the area, and researchers even listen for sounds coming from beneath the surface. While it's not possible to predict when an eruption might happen, all of this data helps scientists understand what might happen during an eruption and how it might affect the surrounding area. Because of these monitoring efforts, we know that Yellowstone isn't broken. There's no single event that caused it to become a supervolcano. Instead, its magma chamber is part of a geologic hotspot. As the North American plate moves over that hotspot, new magma is generated and pushes up toward the surface. That magma eventually fills the magma chamber, causing pressure to build up until the chamber erupts. Then the cycle starts again. The reason some of these eruptions are super and others aren't has to do with how deep the magma chamber is and how quickly the pressure is released. If the magma chamber is deep, then the magma has more time to cool and solidify. That means there's less energy available to cause an explosive eruption. If the pressure is released quickly, however, the magma chamber empties out fast, and the resulting eruption is explosive. If both of those things happen at once, you get a super eruption. Now, while it's unlikely that Yellowstone will erupt anytime soon, it might have already. There have been several smaller eruptions in the Yellowstone region over the past 13,000 years. Some happened at the same time as the super eruption. Others happened in the centuries and millennia following it. But all signs point to the next eruption being another lava eruption. Magma chambers don't tend to refill quickly, and the most likely scenario for the next eruption involves the magma chamber slowly filling up over the next 500,000 years. Sometime in the future, it will fill up enough that another super eruption will happen, but for now it's not broken. It's just doing what it's always done. I think it's safe to say that no one wants a supervolcano to blow up near them, but I'm willing to bet most people don't worry about it too much either. After all, even though Yellowstone has had 2 super eruptions in the past 640,000 years, the chances of getting hit by lightning are way higher. But what about the possibility of an asteroid impact? In asteroid mishaps, learn about the asteroids that have impacted Earth in the past and the ones we might be facing in the future. It's the latest addition to the SCI Show Space series, and it's available exclusively on Nebula. This platform was built by independent creators like us, and gives us the freedom to explore topics like the most dangerous volcano in the world without worrying about whether or not an algorithm will show your video to anybody. It's also a great place to find exclusive videos like asteroid mishaps. Our series explores the ways that asteroids could end all life on Earth, destroy entire civilizations, or just cause a minor inconvenience. You'll meet the astronomers who devote their lives to finding potentially dangerous asteroids, and learn what we can do to protect ourselves against impacts that could end all life on Earth. Thanks for watching and learning with us.